This is unfortunately the worst type of breaking news. There's been a plane collision in Washington, D.C. between a Black Hawk and a CRJ 700 operating under American Eagle brand. From what we know so far is that there's been 60 passengers and 4 crew members missing from the American Eagle flight, whilst the American Black Hawk had 3 crew members and was not carrying any VIP passengers, according to the US Defense. What we do know is that apparently the American Eagle plane was coming into land at 9 p.m. at Ronald Reagan Airport on runway 33 when it collided with the Black Hawk that was making a transition across the airport. The airport has now been closed and other flights being redirected as rescue crews frantically search for survivors in the freezing cold river. The CRJ was cleared to circle to land from runway 1 to runway 33 at the airport, which is a standard procedure. The helicopter was told to maintain visual separation and pass behind the CRJ by the air control, but obviously did not. The helicopter was on a standard route passing through the airport's airspace, where they're normally given clearance and have to maintain visual separation from these aircraft. But because this was late at night and dark, it is possible that they could not see them. At this current stage, it's very hard to say what happened, and obviously we have to wait for the FAA statement, but it does look like that the helicopter may be at fault for this, because the aircraft obviously was coming into land at its normal runway, whilst the helicopter was transitioning through the space. This is a huge deal for the aviation industry because this is the worst air disaster that we've seen in 16 years in the United States with regards to commercial aviation. There have been so many incidences that were 1 or 2 seconds away from this outcome over the last few years, especially around the most tightly controlled airspace in the nation, Washington, D.C. So this situation is either a massive failing by air traffic control or the helicopter didn't maintain visual separation, which is possibly the more likely outcome. And again, I'm not saying that I'm an expert or anything like this, but that's the most logical outcome with my brief knowledge of how airports operate. There is no way that the American Eagle aircraft was operating under visual rules when it made this approach, so I'm confident that we could rule out pilot error in this situation. So a lot of people are throwing around speculation on the internet now exactly what caused this crash, apart from the obvious. Now, a lot of people are throwing speculation around on the internet about what caused this crash, and there are 2 prevalent theories, both to do with the Black Hawk. Through the grapevine from some people with experience with these Army helicopters have suggested that this was undergoing nighttime training. The nature of the training would have to have an instructor pilot on the left side, likely focused on the inside of the cockpit with the pilot on the controls being on the right seat. There would have been a single other crew chief seated in the rear position. The speculation here is that the pilot or crew chief from the front right and rear right saw the aeroplane to their right and believed that this was the issued traffic that they had to watch out for. After all, it is unusual for an aircraft to switch from runway 1 to runway 33, which is further to the north here. So they saw the wrong aircraft coming into land from that distance to their right and believed that that was the plane that they had to maintain visual contact with, looking to their left to see a plane landing on runway 33. The other prevailing theory, as the helicopter cruised south along the river, they wouldn't have noticed the other aircraft at their 10 o'clock as it would have blended in with the city lights. And as they believed that they were currently looking at the plane coming into land at the other runway, then they believed that they had visual contact and thus didn't notice that there was a plane on their flight path. And perhaps if they flew a little bit too high, if it was a trainee pilot, again, pure speculation, we don't have any of these details, then they would have been exactly in the flight path of the plane. And it is very possible that this is what happened, and we'll have to wait to see what the FAA say. It's unfortunately been reported that the aircraft has been split in 2 and is now resting on the river's bottom. At the time of this recording, crews are still searching the river frantically for survivors. However, there are no reports as of yet that anybody has been found. I do hope that everybody watching does keep in mind that this is an ongoing tragedy and to show respect down in the comments.